Not without you. Shukai walks out of interview after reporter humiliates Tan Songyun. The ballroom lights shimmered like diamonds, 100 cameras flashing from every angle. It was supposed to be a night of glitz, glamour, and pride. Shukai and Tan Songyun were attending what many considered the biggest media conference of the year. Directors, producers, sponsors, and reporters from every major outlet had gathered in one place. The stakes were sky high. Careers could be elevated or shattered by a single headline. But what no one knew was that this night would deliver a storm that would leave fans gasping and the industry shaken. The calm before the storm. Shukai and Tan Songyun walked in together, hands brushing but never fully clasped. Their chemistry was undeniable. Every glance, every smile between them carried the weight of shared battles, whispered promises, and sacrifices fans could only dream of. Songyun looked radiant in a cream silk gown that shimmered with the light, while Shukai's tailored black suit gave him an aura of power and authority. For the first 30 minutes, everything seemed perfect. They fielded questions gracefully, answered about new projects, and even laughed when asked about their famous viral hashtag moments like #NotOnMyWatch and #TearsOnStage. The audience was charmed, the fans online were already melting, and the night seemed destined to end in celebration. But then came the reporter. The first strike. A reporter from one of the most aggressive tabloids rose to ask a question. His voice carried the sharpness of someone ready to wound. Tan Songyun, he began with a smile that felt like venom. People say you've built your career on Shukai's shadow. That without him, you're just another actress, forgettable. Some even wonder if your presence in his life is holding him back from greater success. What do you say to that? The air in the ballroom shifted. The murmurs stopped. Cameras zoomed in. Songyun froze. The words sliced into her like shards of glass. For a split second, she lowered her eyes, trying to gather strength, but the pain was visible. Her lips parted as though to speak, but no words came. Shukai's eyes darkened instantly. Shukai's fury unleashed. He leaned forward toward the mic, his voice cutting across the ballroom like thunder. Enough. Every head turned. His tone was ice, but his eyes burned with fire. You think you can sit there and humiliate her in front of the world? You think she's just a shadow? Let me tell you something. Without Tan Songyun, none of what you admire in me exists. She's not in my shadow, she's the light I walk toward every single day. Gasps echoed through the room. The reporter blinked, stunned. Shukai wasn't finished. He pushed the mic aside and stood, towering over everyone. You can insult me all you want, Shukai continued, his voice rising. Say I don't deserve my roles, say I'm overrated, say I'm replaceable. Fine. But the moment you attack her, you lose any right to call yourself a journalist. She has worked harder than most people in this industry, faced storms none of you would survive, and earned every ounce of respect she gets. If you can't see that, then you're blind. His voice shook with emotion. His fists were clenched. He looked as if he might march across the room and drag the reporter out himself. Songyun tugged at his sleeve, whispering through trembling lips, Kai, please, stop. But Shukai shook his head and turned to her, his words raw and unfiltered. Not without you, Songyun. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Walking out. Then came the moment no one expected. Shukai reached down, took Tan Songyun's hand in front of the cameras, and said clearly for all to hear. If she's not respected here, then we don't belong here. And with that, he pulled her to her feet and walked out. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Reporters screamed, cameras flashed wildly, producers whispered in shock. Shukai had just committed an act of open defiance against the media machine, and he didn't care. Backstage chaos. Backstage, Tan Songyun's tears finally spilled over. She tried to stop him, pleading, Kai, you've ruined everything. The sponsors, the directors, the investors. But Shukai cupped her face gently, his anger melting into tenderness. Songyun, listen to me. None of them matter if they think humiliating you is acceptable. You're not ruining my career, you are my career. Everything I do with you by my side. If this industry can't handle that, then maybe I don't need it. She broke down, burying her face in his chest. His arms tightened around her, shielding her from the chaos outside. You shouldn't have to swallow their cruelty just to survive, he whispered. Not anymore. Not as long as I'm here. The world reacts. Within minutes, clips of Shukai's explosive defense and dramatic exit flooded social media. Hashtags exploded. #not without you. #Shukai protects Tan Songyun. #love stronger than fame. Fans were in tears. Millions praised Shukai's bravery, calling him the only actor with a spine in the industry. Videos of Songyun's emotional reaction went viral, with fans flooding her page with messages of support and love. But not everyone was pleased. Some investors were furious. Rumors circulated that Shukai's contract for an upcoming mega project might be cancelled. Tabloids spun stories of Shukai being reckless and unprofessional. Yet the love from fans outweighed the backlash. For every critic, there were 10 supporters praising Shukai for standing up against cruelty in the industry. The private moment. Later that night, when the chaos finally settled, Shukai and Tan Songyun found themselves on the balcony of their hotel, looking over the glittering city lights. You shouldn't have done it, Songyun whispered, leaning on his shoulder. And yet, he said softly, brushing a tear from her cheek, I'd do it again. 1,000 times. She tilted her head to look at him, eyes shimmering with a mixture of fear and love. But what if it costs you everything? Shukai smiled faintly, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Songyun, you are everything. What's the point of all the fame, the money, the projects, if I can't protect you? Her heart clenched. In that moment, she realized he wasn't just her partner in love. He was her shield, her voice, her strength when she felt small. The twist. Just when they thought the backlash would drown them, something unexpected happened. The following morning, one of the biggest directors in China released a statement. Shukai and Tan Songyun are exactly the kind of fearless, authentic actors this industry needs. They have my full support. Soon after, another network announced they were considering Shukai and Tan Songyun for a new project together, calling them the duo who redefined loyalty. The very thing that was meant to destroy them had instead raised them higher than ever. The ballroom still hadn't recovered from Shukai's words. Not on my watch had shaken the industry weeks ago, but this was even bolder, even more dangerous. As he pulled Tan Songyun to her feet, the stunned silence of the reporters was pierced only by the frantic clicks of cameras capturing every second of their dramatic exit. But what the cameras couldn't capture was the raw storm brewing between Shukai, Tan Songyun, and the walls of that glittering stage. The frozen room. When Shukai first stood to his full height, his shadow cast across the reporter's table like a warning. His jaw was clenched, his chest rising and falling with unsteady breaths. Every person in the room could feel it, the unspoken electricity of a man at the edge of fury. The reporter who had dared to insult Tan Songyun shifted nervously in his chair, but his smirk lingered, as if daring Shukai to break. Songyun's hands trembled in her lap. Her instinct told her to smile it off, to swallow the humiliation, to pretend as though the words hadn't pierced her heart. That was what she had done countless times before in her career, grin through the ache, bow to the cruelty, keep the facade alive. But Shukai had seen it. He always saw it. Shukai's eyes. The way he turned to her in that moment, it wasn't the gaze of a co-star, nor even just a lover. His eyes burned with the fire of someone who would burn the world before letting her be diminished. She tried to stop him with a whisper, her voice barely audible under the hum of air conditioning. Kai, please, don't. Not here. But he shook his head slowly, deliberately. Not here, he repeated, his voice cracking with suppressed rage. Especially here, Songyun. Especially in front of them. And then his voice rose, cutting through the murmurs, echoing against the chandeliers. She's not a shadow. She's the light. Gasps and whispers. The room erupted in whispers. A director shifted uncomfortably in his seat. A producer dropped his pen. Some fans in the audience, invited only to watch the press conference live, covered their mouths, eyes wide with tears. Shukai was defying the unspoken law of the industry, never bite the hand that feeds you. But in that moment, Shukai wasn't thinking of sponsors, contracts, or reputation. He was thinking only of Tan Songyun, the woman sitting beside him, her dignity on the line. The walkout. When Shukai finally reached down and took Songyun's hand, the moment crystallized into something iconic. Cameras zoomed, lenses clicked, but none of the flashes could dull the fire in his eyes. "If she's not respected here," he said firmly, "then we don't belong here." With a tug, he pulled her up, his body a shield against the stairs. Songyun stumbled slightly from shock, but Shukai steadied her instantly, his grip both protective and unyielding. Together, they turned their backs on the hall of reporters and strode out. The whispers behind them rose to chaos. Did he really just? Career suicide? No, it's brave, it's love. Backstage collapse. The moment they were away from the flashes, Tan Songyun broke. She pulled her hand free and pressed it to her chest, her breaths coming fast, uneven, like she'd just run a marathon. "You shouldn't have done that," she gasped, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Kai, do you know what you've just done? They'll blacklist you. They'll blacklist me. They'll say I'm the reason." Shukai stepped closer, gripping her shoulders firmly, forcing her to look at him. His voice softened, trembling but unwavering. "Songyun, listen to me. You are not the reason for my downfall. You are the reason for my strength. Don't you see? Without you, none of this means anything." Her lips quivered, unable to find words. The sincerity in his eyes left her breathless. The press reacts. Meanwhile, inside the ballroom, chaos raged. Some reporters rushed to type headlines. Shukai storms out. Shukai defends Tan Songyun in explosive walkout. Career suicide or true love? The insult that was meant to bury Tan Songyun had suddenly turned into a blaze that lifted her higher. Clips were uploaded within seconds. Fans watching the live broadcast cut the footage, flooding social media with Shukai's fiery words. And as hashtags trended, the very reporter who had asked the cruel question now looked pale, sweat dripping down his temples. The power he thought he held had crumbled in the face of Shukai's defiance. Songyun's protest. But back in the quiet of a private hallway, Songyun pressed her palms against Shukai's chest, shaking her head. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I've fought so hard to get here, Kai. I can handle the humiliation, I can handle the whispers, but I can't handle being the reason you lose everything you've built." Shukai's expression softened. He reached up, brushing away her tears with his thumb. "Songyun, you're not the reason I'd lose everything. You're the reason I'd risk everything. Because what's the point of fame if I can't protect the person I love?" The word hung in the air, love. Songyun's breath hitched, her tears now mixed with something else. Something fragile and warm. The defining embrace. In a sudden, almost desperate movement, Shukai pulled her into his arms. His embrace was fierce, unrelenting, as though shielding her from the entire world. And for the first time that night, Songyun allowed herself to break. She sobbed into his chest, gripping the fabric of his suit, feeling the steady thump of his heart beneath her cheek.